And welcome to the Hayden Ranch in Pioneertown and this special presentation of Group W Cable. This weekend will mark the 1984 Sandra Hayden Memorial Barbecue here at the ranch, and this place will be full of people. What we're going to do now is get into our special time machine and take a look at the 1983 barbecue, some of the people that went into putting it together. We're going to be meeting Mousy Hayden, and we're going to be meeting a lot of the people who worked on the 1983 barbecue. But first, let's meet this year's president for 1984, Dan Pekarovich. The president of the Sandra Hayden Memorial Foundation is general engineering contractor from Yucca Valley, Dan Pekarovich. Dan, how long have you been involved with the foundation?
Since it started.
And how did you get involved?
Well, when Russ originally started this thing out, just so happened, excuse me, my daughter was the first recipient.
Okay, so it's been more than just a civic labor. It's a labor of love also because it's affected your family.
Right.
You have a bigger thing happening every year. Every year we see more and more people in a more successful event. How many do you expect to be coming in this weekend?
Well, hopefully we'll have as large a crowd or larger than we had last year, and we were putting her at the limit, I'd say. It's
now,
getting that tight.
As president of the foundation, you're where the buck stops. And what are you doing this year to organize, or what are you doing to put it together?
Well, we start our meetings, excuse me, in December when we elect our new officers. And then we start putting things together, getting our committee together, assigning different people to their duties or whatever their part they're going to handle. And we progress along, have meetings every month. And as the thing gets closer, our meetings tighten up closer to make sure that everybody's getting their job and getting prepared.
Well, things are getting real close now. You've got just a few more days. You mentioned that you were almost at maximum. What is the figure? How many people do you figure would be maximum?
That's going to be kind of a tough question. What we're running into is, as you know, we have our barbecue, and getting the people through and served. And we have improved that this year. We're going to have two different lines. Excuse me, one for the steaks and one for the barbecue, for the hamburgers. We're getting the new grills to handle that so that we can have two separate lines, get the people through faster.
Dan, how many people serve on the board of directors of the foundation?
Right now is around 50.
Your recipient this year is a local boy. His name is?
Raymond Garcia.
And he suffers from a rare neurological disease called Hallervorden-Spatz syndrome, which I guess is a degenerative sort of nerve disorder. Is that the sort of recipient that the Sandra Hayden Foundation is looking for, someone they can help like that?
Yes, it is. And each year in the past, we have a committee that takes in these letters that come in by mail. We have an investigating committee that goes out and investigates each particular recipient, and they in turn decide which one they think is the best, put it in front of the members, and it's voted on, and that's the way that's handled.
Of course, it was very unfortunate last year that John Serio, your recipient, passed away, but I imagine that being the recipient and having the attention of the foundation and all that made his last hours a lot more happier, and that's another thing that you could be proud of yourself for.
I'm sure it did.
You got a little different fundraiser this year. You're starting to sell some buttons, I understand.
Buttons, and I just happen to have one here in my hand, and I'll present that to you. We have the buttons, also the hats, t-shirts, tank tops. This is a first, and we're hoping this will help raise money for our cause.
Okay, well, in about, this weekend, this place is going to fill up with people, and you're going to have a lot of work. And it's been very nice meeting Dan Pekarovich, who's the president this year for the Sandra Hayden Memorial Foundation. Welcome to Pioneertown, California, and the beautiful Russell Hayden Ranch. Relax now, because we're going to transform this nice, quiet setting as thousands upon thousands of people all of a sudden appear for the 7th Annual Sandra Hayden Memorial Barbecue. We'll be talking to Glenn Harper, Alan Ward, Mousy Hayden, John Serio, and some of the other volunteers and people who made this event such a success this year. We'll be seeing the skydivers come down. We'll be listening to a little bit of the United States Marine Corps Drum and Bugle Corps. All in all, we're going to be showing you the people, the events, and the feeling that made the Sandra Hayden Memorial Barbecue. I'm Gary Daigneault, and now relax. It's July 3rd, 1983. The Hayden Ranch in Pioneertown was built originally as an old movie set for Western movies of the time. Once a year it's transformed, however, as hundreds of people come to enjoy all the festivities for the Foundation's barbecue. Games of chance, fun games, and even a dunk tank are on hand to help make the hot summer afternoon a little bit cooler. And of course, hot, fresh steaks, barbecuing over mesquite fires, and prepared by expert butchers. Mousy Hayden well, the Hayden Ranch, of course, is where you live. As a matter of fact, right behind us is where you make your residence.
That's correct.
And one day a year, the whole ranch is transformed, and it has more than a 4th of July meeting. It has a special meeting, and I'd like you to tell us a little bit about it.
Well, Sandra Hayden was Rusty's daughter, and she was killed near the 4th of July, and so he wanted to do a memorial for her. And then when little Karen Pekarovich, up here in the high desert, lost her leg to cancer, he said, that's it, we'll do a barbecue, a memorial barbecue. And it's been, this is our 7th year, and that's how it started.
Did you ever think 7 years ago it would turn into such a tremendous event as it is now?
Yes.
Well, that's great. Are you delighted?
Yes, of course.
Do you want it to get even bigger?
Well, of course. Well, except we have to enlarge the parking lot again, which we did.
One of the problems with success is all the planning and all the organizing, and the man behind that is Glenn Harper this year. And Glenn, the logistics of putting together an event this size must be something tremendous. Can you give us an idea about some of the things you had to deal with to get it all going?
Well, you have to have good health, first off. And this group has been with us for 7 years, so I don't really have to do very much. And a lot of this credit goes to Alan Ward, our past president. I got to give him credit for it. I'm just, I keep a low profile here. I leave these people alone because they know what they're doing. Same with me, I run the meat cutting end of it, and Ray Liebengood runs the barbecue. So each party leaves each other alone and works with each other, and it works out very harmoniously.
Glenn, I guess we're in the way of a truck here, so we got to go real quick. But let me ask you one question real quick. About how many pounds of meat do you think you'll serve this year?
Well, if we don't run out, which I don't think we will, but I tried to figure for this bigger crowd, but we are prepared to serve at least over 1,000 people ribeye steaks, and we can serve. I bought enough to serve 720 hamburgers, but we got more to back it up, so we're not going to run out.
Okay, one more quick thing. I know you're in a hurry, Mousy.
Gary, we have 35 members, and each member gets their volunteers, and this is all a community project.
Well, I think it's great. I think the whole community, not just Yucca Valley and Pioneertown, but the whole area owes
Even the
both of you
community
people a lot of things.
picked out our recipient. They do that every year.
John Serio, now he's a Joshua Tree resident, right?
Yes, and he's here.
What are the criteria you look for when you pick out a recipient?
Well, it's a catastrophic disease, or it's some high deer, and whatever. If they're on welfare, they can't take the money, and then we have to delve into it quite thoroughly. We have an ad hoc committee that does that, and then we vote on it.
Okay, well, you both are in a hurry and you're very busy again. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Barry. Thanks, Bob.
The recipient of this year's Sandra Hayden Memorial Barbecue is a resident of Joshua Tree. Is that right, John?
Yes.
John Serio, and John Serio has not only the distinction of being the recipient, but I understand that you're quite active in the Boy Scouts there in the Joshua Tree area. I'm going to ask you about that. But first, John, it must have been quite a surprise when you found out that you were the recipient of this year's Sandra Hayden Memorial Barbecue. I wonder if you could give us your reactions and how you found out about it.
I'm still in shock. I am still surprised. I just don't really know what to say. They called me up and told me I was the recipient, and I got it, and I don't know, I thought I already passed by, you know. How I got into it was Mrs. Zuckerman. I apologize to her. I can't remember the pronunciation of her name, but she's the one that put me up for it, and I was very surprised. I guess she saw the article in the paper, and they entered me. It was all right, and I said, fine, I'll go. I'll try.
Well, John, the proceeds from the barbecue certainly have to be something that can be very, very helpful to you. Have you, in your mind, sort of decided what you wanted to do with some of those proceeds, or are you going to use it to just sort of help your way along, or do you have any idea, or do you not want to deal with that yet?
Well, I haven't planned too much on it because I don't know what's coming in or what, and whatever I get surprised with, well, fine. I'll work it from there. If I get enough, I might I want to have a slab put in the back of the house and a little patio, like where I can get out in the backyard, and maybe a little sidewalk with ramps in the back. The way it is now, the back patio, I put it in with those blocks, and it's a little rough for the wheelchair. That keeps dropping in the cracks.
How long have you been confined to a wheelchair now, John?
A little over a year.
Now, a little over a year ago, before your illness did get you in a wheelchair, you were very, very active with the Scout movement in the Joshua Tree area.
Yes.
And I think that was one of the things that attracted both the Sandra Hayden Memorial people to you and Frida Zuckerman, is because you were so active with the young people in that area. But that hasn't totally curtailed your activities.
No.
You're still working with them, aren't you?
Oh yes, I'm still working with it, but I just do the administration part. Help out with that part, the camp outs and whatever, and planning and pack planning and such like that. And to be out in to get down to meetings, it's a little hard because that's a dialysis day. I'm usually pretty tired by the time I get back. I'm getting feeling better now, though, so I might show up on there one of these days.
John Seary, you're a very amazing young man, and speaking for myself and most of the community, I know we're awfully proud of you, and we'll be watching your progress, and I think the Sandra Hayden Memorial Barbecue have picked a pretty darn good recipient.
Well, thank you very much. I don't know, it's just being out here, it's just great, get to look at the old town and the old wagons, the ranch, and all that. Well, it's just something else. I always wanted to come up here, and now I'm here.
Okay.
And a little extra being the recipient, that's just a little extra pleasure.
Well, as far as I'm concerned, John, you're a hero.
Well, thank you very much. I don't know about that, but
Each year, more and more events are added to the Sandra Hayden Barbecue, and this year, one of the things looked forward to by the crowd was the appearance by the United States Marine Corps Drum and Bugle Corps. The barbecue, taking place over the July 4th weekend, featured a patriotic theme. The newest and most striking addition to the Hayden Ranch for 1983 was the Scarlet Lady, an 1800s private railroad car which was brought to the ranch through Alan Ward. By the way, Mr. Ward later donated this beautiful piece of American history to the Hayden Ranch. Absolutely authentic in every detail. The railroad car features a very, very rich interior with velvet seats, all of it getting a little old but still beautifully conditioned. An authentic all-wood bar, even the original cash register is there. Alan Ward is a member of the Foundation Board of Directors and a lifelong close personal friend of Russell Hayden. We asked Alan where he first saw the Scarlet Lady.
Gary, I saw the lady at the Michael's restaurant in the City of Commerce in Los Angeles.
What were they using it for there at Michael's?
At that time, it was commercial use, although they have a big restaurant there. They had this on the side where they would serve just sandwiches and drinks.
Okay. And what made you think it would be appropriate to bring the lady here to Pioneertown?
Look around, you can see yourself. It's just built in that area, and I know it would be a great addition to the ranch.
Now, in the description of the Scarlet Lady, which is passed out to people who tour it, it says that you convinced the restaurant that it would be more appropriate to have the Scarlet Lady here rather than there. Now, convinced, I don't know, it seems to me if I had something of this age and so beautiful in my restaurant, it would take a lot of convincing. How'd you talk them out of it?
I think it was money.
A big check talks, huh?
Well, actually, what they wanted to do, it was such a big overhead to them because they required a bartender and a waitress in order to get the food. They had to go all the way to the restaurant. And what he wanted to do was open up a garden spot there in place of this train. So they wanted to sell it, but also they wanted the right price.
The physical process of moving the Scarlet Lady to the Hayden Ranch must have been quite a tremendous one.
Yes.
Were you involved in that, Alan?
Yes.
Can you give us a little bit of a rundown on it?
Well, we had, first of all, locate the movers who was capable of moving a train of this size because we were talking here, I think it was 280,000 pounds. And there's only 280-ton crane in the city, rather in the state of California. And that day we had to have both of them there because the lady at that time was in a pit. It wasn't on the ground the way it is now. It literally had to be hoisted out of the pit.
So they hoisted it out of the pit onto a big truck?
Well, first of all, they took the lady to the south and left the trucks and the wheels separate. That was separated. There was actually two trucks. One truck and a trailer for the lady, and another truck, of course, for the truck and wheels.
I can understand why it wouldn't be real difficult on the highway, but once you get on 62 and coming up Pioneertown Road, about how many miles per hour were they making?
They made real good time, Gary. The thing is, they left at 12 o'clock midnight, well, 12 o'clock midnight, yes, at Michael's, and at the Cajon Pass, they had to stay there until daybreak. Then they came in the back way. So they didn't wind through the roads to the front of Pioneertown, but came into the back way.
I see. Okay. How long is the Scarlet Lady?
85 feet, 15 feet wide.
And if you were to have to put a value on it, and I'm not talking about the value of maybe what you paid Michaels or the move, I mean to put a value on her as she sits now, just about fully restored, what would be the value that would be put on the Scarlet Lady?
I don't know. I really don't, because you can see yourself the antique pictures and the all the different antiques they have throughout the whole train here. It's actually like an 85-foot antique. But I never did really have a price on it as far as what would it cost to duplicate, if that was your question.
Talking about the pictures in here, the Baron von Rettel, is that how it was pronounced?
Yes,
was quite a risque man. If you take a close look at all of the photographs here in the lady, they were at one time all nudes.
Yes.
And they've now been rather crudely clothed. And you told me earlier about that, but I wonder if you could repeat it again for the camera.
Well, when they refurbished it and it was open for commercial use in the City of Commerce, the mayor and his wife of the City of Commerce had a little tour. And as soon as she saw the pictures, then she wanted them covered. And unfortunately, the owner at that time had them covered.
Alan, what is your personal interest in the Hayden Ranch and the Hayden Memorial? Why do you do this?
I've known Russ and Mousy for years, and they were two of my closest friends. And Russ and I used to talk about it. Matter of fact, before he passed away, about 2 years before he passed away, I put a bid in for the lady. Thought I was going to get it, but didn't. And he had been inside of it. He saw it, and as with Mousy. And so we often talked about it. But I knew it would be a great addition, which it is, to the ranch and to the Sound Foundation. So that was mainly the reason.
When the foundation was started and when you started having the barbecues, 7 years ago, is that correct?
Yeah, this was our 7th anniversary.
Okay, now we had literally thousands of people here. This
Yes.
place was a madhouse.
Yes.
Did you ever think it would turn into such a resounding success?
No, not that big.
Do you almost feel now that you've got a Frankenstein on your hands, that maybe you've created something that's a little hard to control?
We keep on saying we got to get a bigger ranch.
Yeah.
We certainly have to enlarge it.
Alan Ward, a very, very special man, and part of the Hayden barbecue since its inception. Another one of the fundraising activities at the barbecue is an auction of donated items overseen by volunteer auctioneer Richard Pope.
25, 26, 25 of them on 26, 25 now of them on 26, 26. So, $25 number, what's your number, sir? 51 is the...
Lots of other activities were on hand for the crowd at the Hayden barbecue. A special authentic Western stunt show put on by Runnin' Iron. How'd you like to do that for a living? Now here's a fellow here who's really got what they call a hangover. Many of the visitors to this year's barbecue caught some of the original Western flavor of the Hayden Ranch by taking a ride on Roger Melanson's Desert Wagon Works. Roger and his trained team of horses and our authentic wagons would take the visitors on a ride on the original stagecoach road behind the ranch. Many a movie desperado and cinematic stagecoach was robbed and shot, and a lot of familiar scenes were shot on this road.
Let's get them on the same day.
Come on. Come on. Get up. Come on. Get up there.
Oh, they're beautiful.
Get up there.
Roger, I'll come help you brush them. You're going to be ready for that break tomorrow. Yeah.
From the old road approaching the ranch to the Scarlet Lady, these horses were seen all over during the day. Another one of the day's activities is the popular horseshoe throwing contest. And some good old foot stomping music. A number of local bands were on hand to keep the crowd entertaining and smiling, and the crowd loved it, singing along and slapping their knees. Aspiring Arnold Palmers were on hand trying to win the $25 prize money in the hole-in-one contest. Now this fella here does come pretty darn close. But unfortunately that only counts in the horseshoe tournament. The Yucca Valley Art Association was on hand with fine works of art by many of our own high desert area artists. That was a very popular attraction to the crowd. A brand new event this year for the Sandra Hayden Memorial Barbecue is a special exhibition skydiving event being put on by the Threshold Skydiving team. One of the members of that team is a local resident from 29 Palms, Steve Tharp, the owner of Kelly's Future there. And this entire event is being sponsored by, I almost hate to say it, but it's being sponsored by the Denyo Advertising Agency, which is my company. Steve and his two companions will be exiting the plane at about 6,000 feet above the target area. They'll be doing free fall. Two of them will link up their canopies and they'll float down and try to land on a very, very small target area. So we're going to be seeing some very, very exciting action from the Threshold Skydiving team. Here they go. Steve Tharp is a member of the Threshold skydiving team. You landed about 30 seconds ago. Can you tell us how the jump was? Was the wind the way you expected it to be? And all in all, how'd it go?
Well, the wind was the way we figured it would be. It was pretty squirrely. You get a lot of buffeting off the hills, and it makes for a hard time really trying to get into the target here. I think Bobby and I had a little problem because we were both getting down here at the same time. We were more concerned with keeping our parachutes fully inflated than the target.
I guess that would have to be number one priority.
That's number one priority, is staying up and not coming down too fast. But
Steve,
it worked out real well.
That was a real good jump. You guys think you're going to do it again today?
Again, I don't think so.
All right, thank you.
Enjoyed it.
2 weeks after the Hayden barbecue, when things had settled down and quieted down, we went back to the Hayden Ranch to meet the only year-round resident, Mousy Hayden. It was a lot different Hayden Ranch than it had been earlier. We wanted to find out a little bit about Mousy and a little bit about this special part. Hundreds of people who attended the Hayden Memorial Barbecue walked by the general store. Many of them did not know that inside the general store is actually the residence of Mousy Hayden, and that's where we are now. And Mousy, I want to ask you a little bit about the history of not just your residence, but the entire Hayden Ranch. First of all, when did you and Russ first come up here? When's the first time you took a look at this piece of property?
1946.
1946. And were you up here scouting locations or looking for a place to retire or just out playing?
No, you're wrong on all counts. There were about 17 members, original members, that wanted to buy property to shoot the Western pictures. And so they had a lease on the monument, and they couldn't buy the monument, so they said, well, and they put money down on it, so they said, well, you pick out a piece that you would like, and we'll see if we can arrange it. Now, this was all owned by the railroad. So they liked the area up here, and the 17 members bought it.
How did it go from the 17 members buying it to now the Hayden Ranch? What is the...
The Hayden Ranch is not included in Pioneertown proper.
Okay.
It is in Section 20, and Pioneertown itself is in Section 19. And Russell bought 90 acres here so he could do the Judge Roy Bean series.
We were outside looking, and you showed us the Stagecoach Road, which was from the Judge Roy Bean series.
Right.
And this was the general store from the Judge Roy Bean series.
Yes, this is where Judge Roy Bean, Edgar Buchanan, he was the star of our show, and he had a little bar in here and all the accoutrements to a general store.
I want to go way back and get a little personal if I can. When did you first meet Russell Hayden?
In July the 11th, 1946.
And what were you doing at that time?
I was at a cocktail party, and I gave him a hot eye, and then we got married 10 days later.
10 days later, one of those long romances.
Right.
Give me a little background on Russell Hayden. We're all familiar with his work with the Hopalong Cassidy and Judge Roy Bean, but let's go way back when he wasn't a star, when he was just getting started.
Well, when he wasn't a star, he was assistant producer to Pop Sherman, who made the Hopalong Cassidys. And when they lost Jimmy Ellison to The Plainsman, which was a big feature for him, Pop Sherman adored Rusty, so he said, well, I want you to be in it. And Russ says, no way, I'm not an actor. So he said, well, I'll give you $1,000 an episode, and they did 3 episodes then, a week. He said, I can't refuse that, and that's how he started.
Back in those days, I say it back in those days because there always seemed to be a central core, almost a clique of Western stars. And they all sort of palled around together, did they not, Mouse?
Yes, they did.
Can you give me an idea of some of the stars that were friends of Rusty Hayden, and then maybe some anecdotes? I noticed we've got pictures of Gary Cooper and Jackie Coogan and some of those people. All those people who were frequenters here, were they not?
Well, Gary Cooper wasn't ever here, but those chaps over there, the Batwing chaps, Gary Cooper gave them to Rusty when he started in pictures in the Hopalong Cassidys. And Coogan, Rusty and Coogan had known each other since they were kids. And that whole bunch ran around together, and then when Russell was approached to do and produce the Cowboy G-Men series, he had Coogan for his sidekick.
So he's always been involved in Westerns. Did he ever get out of Westerns, ever go into a different genre of film or entertainment?
Yes, he did quite a few other things. He was a pilot in 7 Were Saved, And, I can't recall all of them, but there are different pictures where he wasn't in Westerns, and he did a lot of series at Columbia.
But his heart was in the Westerns.
Well, he was a heck of a good writer.
Oh, did he write a lot of his own things?
Yes.
Ah, well, see, you're telling me things I didn't know.
I'm speaking of writing.
Oh, okay.
But he did write some of his own things, and of course he had a story editor also.
So that was nice. Did you travel with him to the different locations, and were you sort of at home while he was off doing these things? And then
I was under contract to 20th Century Fox when we were married, and so I had to be at the studio every day. And when he was on location, no, I didn't go with him.
Was that a strain on a relationship?
No, not at all. I'd always join him on weekends.
Speaking of weekends, was this your weekend retreat? Was this where you went away, this piece of property right here?
Yes, it was, until we lost Sandy. And then we didn't come back here for, a number of years. We went to Arizona. Rusty went to Arizona to do the 26 Men series, which was a very successful syndicated show.
When he did the 26 Men series in Arizona, he sort of introduced the industry out there.
Yes, he did.
And that was quite exciting for the Arizonians.
Yes, well, it was very exciting. He has a lot of plaques here from the press and everything. It was exciting because he had a big fight on his hands. He had to fight all the unions.
Oh, I see, because he's out of California.
He's 300 miles away, and he set up his own studio, and it was quite difficult, but it was very good for him because he was in a very grievous state after he lost Sandy, so he had to get out of town.
Let's talk about once again, how we came from the first 17 investors looking at this piece of property and at Pioneertown in general as a Western location, to how you came to be living here and how we come to have what is virtually a Western museum here. We've got the Scarlet Lady, the beautiful gazebo that was just added this year, all of the sets, the barn, the bar there. Did that all happen at once, or did it gradually come about?
It gradually came about. But the Scarlet Lady came here specifically through Alan Ward so that it would be for our barbecue. But the rest of the buildings were built for the Judge Roy Bean series.
Now, usually when they build a set, it's not built to last, and yet walk around out here and this stuff's built to last.
Rusty was thinking of retiring here, I'm sure, during that time. And then he lost his eyesight, so that's when he did retire up here.
So he was combining business with pleasure.
Right.
How long did he live here?
Before
he passed
permanently?
Yeah.
Since 1972.
So you've been here or around here for over 30-odd years now.
Mm-hmm.
How's that for a quick addition?
Gee, that's pretty good, 46 to 83.
I asked Alan earlier, we were talking in the Scarlet Lady, and I asked him a question which of course he could never answer, and that question was the fact that this ranch is open one day a year now for the Sandra Hayden Memorial Barbecue. And yet this ranch contains a plethora of Western memorabilia and Americana and just fascinating things to look at. Do you ever foresee a time when that might be open to the public more than one day a year, or would it upset your lifestyle too much to have people traipsing about the property?
That it would. Now, one day a year is good enough. Although we do have the Shriners, they have their barbecue up here once a year. So that's 2 days a year, and that's enough.
All of the authentic things you've got around here, again, it's just fascinating to me. And I was surprised coming back up here after the barbecue, because during the barbecue there were so many people I couldn't see anything. And now I noticed things, like the little water wheel, and we were going by the barn, and I said, there's a bar in there. I didn't know that. And all of these things.
Wall-to-wall people, you couldn't see them all.
How do you keep up the grounds, all of the things you've got collected, all of the things that you slowly built up over the years?
Hard work.
You do it all yourself?
Well, before our barbecue, we have our committee members all come up and brush it up together.
I'm going to ask you another question that I asked Alan earlier, and that I asked you during the height of the activities on the 4th of July, and of course we were all inundated by people and all had our minds on other things. And that question is, 7 years ago you started the Hayden Memorial Barbecue with the help of a lot of friends, and this year we've seen the most successful ever, John Serio being the recipient. How do you see the next 7 years? How do you project it?
Oh my goodness, I don't know. If it gets any bigger, I think we'll have to tear down a mountain.
You ever thought of a 2-day or 3-day event?
No.
Have it go?
Never. No.
Just going to keep it with one
No,
day?
we're all keyed up for this one day, and that's it.
Now, see, you have an amazing group of friends people who have stuck by you and been your friend for years, people who literally put their heart and souls, and not to mention their pocketbooks, into this successful event. Nobody receives any profit out of it, except for the recipient, who this year is a particularly appropriate recipient, John Serio. What is it about you, and don't you hate people who ask you questions like this, what is it about you that make people want to do so much for you?
It wasn't me. It was Rusty. They just adored Rusty, and he, of course, knew these people for many years, and they want to just be together, and this is their charity as well as mine, and we'll keep it together as long as we can.
Well, it's amazing what you've done to not only the barbecue, but the area, literally putting Pioneertown on the map. Now when people say, well, what's Pioneertown? They don't say, well, that's where they shot the OK Corral. They say, well, that's where the 4th of July barbecue is every year.
That's right. It's only on the Sunday nearest the 4th, so that people can get on home safely.
One more personal thing.
Right.
If there was one thing that you wanted Rusty to be remembered for, what would that one thing be?
The Hayden Ranch and the barbecue.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The Hayden home is full of souvenirs and photographs of Mousie Hayden and their friends, and we asked Mousie to describe some of them to us.
This is me, Mousie Hayden, entertaining the occupation forces in Germany. This is Coogan, a colonel, and my Rusty, and Lloyd Perriman, and Alan Ward, Lloyd Perriman, Sons of the Pioneers, on the Pioneer Pass Golf Tournament. This is my Rusty Hayden down in Phoenix, Arizona, with his cameraman, Bud Wilkins. This is Rusty Hayden down doing his 26-men series in Arizona with the star Tris Coffin, with a real priest, a Canon Ray, and my Rusty. This is me with Jack Oakey in Song of the Islands, with Betty Grable and Victor Mature. This is Jackie Coogan and my Rusty Hayden when they were on a parade in Memphis, and it was very cold, so they had their long johns on, and the publicity man said, I want to get a picture of that. Aren't they cute? There's my Rusty. He's a doll, baby. In the Hopalong Cassidy series, there's Bill Boyd, and there's Gabby Hayes, along with them. That's a cute picture, isn't it? There's Rusty just before he died. A gentleman from Hollywood came up and took those pictures. A lot of people come up and take pictures of Rusty, and then they said, I'll send you one, but they never did, but he did. That's Sandra Hayden, which the memorial is named after. His daughter, Sandra Hayden, was killed at the age of 16 in an automobile accident. A doll baby.
Recipient for 1983, John Serio, was presented with a check for over $6,000 by the people we see now surrounding him, the real workers, the members of the Sandra Hayden Memorial Foundation. From all walks of life and from various areas of the high desert, they all put hundreds of hours and hundreds of dollars of hard work and hard-earned money into making this special event a success. We hope you've enjoyed this special presentation this evening by Group W, and we especially hope you've enjoyed finding out more about the Sandra Hayden Foundation and meeting the many volunteers who helped make this barbecue a very successful one. Be sure to join me this coming Sunday, July 1st at the Hayden Ranch for the 1984 Sandra Hayden Memorial Foundation Barbecue. Until then, good night.